Hello, everyone. There's my gratitude alarm, of course, which is a great reminder of me needing to be grateful right now. I need to get real with the audience for a few minutes. So anybody watching or watching the replay, just know that I'm not exactly like 100% on. I don't know how to get this live with StreamYard stuff off the top and bottom. I can't figure that out right now, and I don't feel like dealing with it, so I'm just not going to. But welcome to Living with Annietude, and I'm here to tell you that we're going to talk. I have an amazing guest. I probably wouldn't have done the show tonight. That's the kind of day I had if it wasn't for this guest being with me. So I'm going to bring her on, but I just wanted to get real with you and tell you that, and I know you've heard this a million times and it might get old hearing it, but I just am here to tell you that it's okay not to be, like, it's okay to not be okay. Like, it's okay to be human. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight on the show, being human. And the truth of the matter is, it's a really hard time for me. And I know it's a really hard time for a lot of people. And I've been putting videos out and talking about this a lot. And I don't want it to sound like a broken record, but at the same time, I kind of just want to be real, because that's what we're here to do, right? I'm here to show you my truest, most authentic self so that you can feel comfortable with your truest, most authentic self. And bringing that, uncovering that self and bringing that. And if I don't bring it, then I'm not modeling the way. And my truest authentic self is having a tough time right now. So I'm going to bring my guest in. My girl, Charisse Fontes, is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well. That's good.
I know how you're doing.
Yes. So, it's not, and I'm so glad that it's you that's here tonight, because when I connected with you, first of all, I heard such amazing things about you. I'm like, all right, who is this girl? No, I'm just kidding. But I was like, I need to meet this girl. And then as soon as we had a conversation, I felt and saw your light. And I'm so glad that we were able to. And it's weird how the universe works, because I am having a hard time right now. And it has to do with a lot of things. I just have a ton on my plate. I am prioritizing self-care. So that's not the case that it is, but I just have a lot going on, and it feels like a lot of weight on me lately, like a lot, like right here. So it's my little girl's 9th birthday today. I wanted to make that wonderful. I wasn't really like in the best mood, but I tried to do all the right things and it just wasn't lifting. But I knew I had you to see. I knew I had you to come to visit with, and I know that, on your LinkedIn profile, and I want you to tell a little bit about, you, but on your LinkedIn profile, the word you have written is human. And it just made me think, like, if we're going to talk about anything on a show about authenticity and Annietude, right? Like, then it's about being human. And if I can't show up and be me and say, you know what, I'm not going to put on a face. I'm not going to say everything's great. Like, I'm just not. And I'm so happy it's you that's on the other end, because when we spoke, you brought such light to the conversation. And hi, Linda McGuigan. I work with her, and she's a very nice woman. Ashton, hi. It's hard for you too. It's a hard time for a lot of people. Do you, well, first tell me a little bit about your background so people can know who you are, and then we'll get into being human.
Well, I am human. I'm a few different things, or what I do are a few different things. I am a culture consultant, so I help create healthy and inclusive workplace cultures. I run a social enterprise to help end the isms that are plaguing our humanity. And I'm also an active birth doula, and I help women birth their babies. I encompass a lot of that and grounded in humanity, high vibration, light and love. And I'm also a mom of 5. And I just really incorporate my what makes my heart sing, and also what I find breaks my heart. And that's a lot of what I do on the daily. But I like to just say I'm human, because all the titles I feel create a label. And when you label me, you negate me. And I just want to be human, because I make mistakes. I am the student and often the teacher sometimes, but I'm just human. I'm showing up. That's who I am.
Yeah. And that is how you show up and how you present. And you have a very calming way about you that I really enjoy. So that's part of why I selfishly was like, I need to do this show tonight. This is almost like a therapy session for me. But, it's interesting. I don't know how you feel about, first of all, Mike Carter. Hi, thanks for stopping by. He said, I feel your pain. I really had a hard time. And I met someone on LinkedIn and I never knew him, and it helped me so much. Yeah. I mean, we could get into that for forever, how amazing the community is on LinkedIn as far as support goes. And like what I try to put out there is really, similar to you in that I just want to show up as human. And there are so many people that don't show up that way, and they say they're one thing and they have to put on a face. And look, I have a show. I do like 5 or 6 lives a week. Sometimes I have to put on a show. Sometimes I have to bring it, when I'm live, but I want to also be real. And I want people to know that it's okay, that sometimes like things are crappy and sometimes you're feeling like you're going to have an anxiety attack. And then, another thing I want people to know is like, it's not always a wall that you hit. Sometimes it's just a speed bump. Like the other day yesterday I was really feeling like I hit a wall. But really, when it came down to it, it's been just a speed bump. And today was an extra hard day for me. So it's been a rough go. And I want people to understand what it's like to really be human, not just be this facade.
Yeah, I think it's what you're saying to me really sounds like going through transition. And transition is not a fun place to be. It is frustrating. It is sometimes seems isolating. Everything is going wrong. You're like, why am I doing this? What is going on?
That's in fact, the exact words I had in my head. Why am I doing this? What is going on?
That's an indicator of you being in transition, and it's a season. And I just talked about this, and I said, and I admitted that I am in transition. It doesn't feel great. And most of the time my vibration's at an 8. Most of the time you meet me, but when I'm in transition, it's just like, oh my goodness, it doesn't feel good. And I'm not like this, like, hey girl, hey type of person. I'm like, where's my mom? I'm not feeling that awesome. And it's because you're in transition. And I like to think about it in birth analogy. Right after you go through transition, the birth happens. So I will probably bet you, Annie, that within a week or so, you'll come out of transition and something amazing is about to happen, because that's how it works. It's a season of time that we're supposed to go between the change and the thing that we want the most. It's the transition part. It's not fun, it's a place to honor. And I'm grateful that you are acknowledging that you are in transition, because the easier you say it, you can get through it. Yeah. And eventually you'll be able to understand, like, we go through many of these in our lives, in our day to day. It's just being able to identify the season.
Yeah. I mean, and a couple other people said, hi, Kenneth. Hi, Kenny. He said, there's one and only Annie. Thank you for allowing us into your house. He's the best. Michael's here. Hi.
Hey, Michael.
Amazing. Thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. Mary Ellen, you're always just such a support. I mean, it's truly like, it's really, really amazing. Rhonda, Jason, hi, sending everybody love back. And it's really, it's what I find really interesting, Charisse, is like, if you've seen the darkness, like the real darkness, not like a sad couple days, but like the real darkness, it's very scary to dip your toe in it, because then it's like, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a week. It feels like it's going to be forever, or you're going to get in that really dark place again. And that's very scary. And then that fear sort of piles on top of what you're already feeling. So that's sort of where I am. It's like, you're right. I need to just sort of, like you said, honor it and allow and just say, it's okay. Like, it's okay.
And like you started off with this, and I will recommend a song. You said this line, it's okay not to be okay. And Jessie J sang a song very similar to that song. It's called Who You Are. And it really does bring out probably a lot of the feelings that you're feeling. And it's not a bad place to be. It's very relative in terms of what is to come for you, but it's about the right now, and it's okay not to be okay. And I love that you're like, I'm going to just be real and honest. And I've watched you build such a beautiful community on LinkedIn that this is a place to do that. And it's always really good to know where you can show up as that hopefully everyone can do it in all places.
Right.
But I'm just like very, again, just in the state of gratitude that you're able to come on and be like, hey, y'all, like, this is not the day for me. This is not the time. And just all the light and love that you're receiving right now is energy towards the momentum that's pushing you out of this transition, out of this space.
Right. Right. I hear you and I feel you and I appreciate you. And this is part of why I so wanted to push myself, because my first inclination, and I don't know if other people, hi, Nancy, it's often not okay. I don't know if other people, hi, Nadal, how are you? Are feeling like, you know, like I'm feeling, but if I don't, my whole entire box that I try to stand on, if I ever have a box to stand on, right, is that I'm real and I'm authentic. So if I don't show up as that, then how can I, you know, feel like I can show people what it's really like to be real and to show your feelings and to be you, you know, if I don't show up as me. So if I stand up here and I'm like, you know, everything's great. Oh, happy holidays. Tuesday rocks. You know, it was so easy to get through today. You know, I think that if I do that, it's a bunch of bullshit, and I just refuse to bring bullshit to the table. So, you know, I appreciate you sort of accepting me tonight and showing me that gratitude, because it feels like very welcoming, and that's a lot of how I feel, you know, on this platform. And what I'm trying to do, Charisse, is like, and you do this too, is I try to create, I'm trying to create, help create and add to this movement of people allowing you to show up as you are, versus the way LinkedIn used to be was cold and kind of rigid. And this is not where you brought your emotions. There were major boundaries. And I want to sort of either lead the way or add to what's already happening, where there's that empathy and compassion and realness. I hear pitter patter. So there's definitely going to be like a brand new 9-year-old that is going to come in and say, it's my birthday. Which yeah, exactly. So anyway, you know, I hope to, even if there's just one person that's watching, I just hope to share that realness with them and show them that it's not all fun and games all the time. And it's also not all stiff and professional all the time. Sometimes it's, you know, kid running in on a Zoom call when you're making a proposal to a client, right? So, you know, so.
You know, when you're talking about this, it reminds me, with my 5th baby, I ended up going to Bali, and I spent some time in Bali when I was very, like, maybe like going on to 2nd trimester. So I went to Bali around 11 weeks pregnant, and I didn't plan to go to Bali pregnant. It just happened that way. I booked the trip. I got pregnant. I'm like, I'm still going. But I went and had this amazing experience, and I stayed in 5 different parts of Bali. I stayed with a traditional Balinese family. I went to the Bumi Sahad Birth Center. I love cultures. Like, that's one of the things that I did there. And I remember going on a adventure with a manku, which is a priest out there. And we did this amazing river ceremony and like all of this different stuff. And I remember I was planning for a home birth. So I came back to the States and was going for a home birth. And one of the things was, being a 5th-time mom, they consider you high risk. And so I decided to go full home birth and have a midwife and not do the hospital. And one of the things that came out of my experience in Bali was I said, I'm going to live my faith and speak my truth. That's what I said I was going to do.
You decided that, and that was it.
I decided that was it. And I had one of the most amazing birth experiences. And through my postpartum, which was very challenging, I used that mantra, live my faith and speak my truth, to get through some of this stuff. And then it showed up again when I joined a workplace that was, when you talk about show up as your authentic self, I literally was like, okay, how am I going to show up? Am I going to be this Charisse, or do I need to change into a different Charisse? And I said, no, live your faith and speak your truth. And I did that to the end. It didn't end how I thought it would end, but what came along the way was I created space for other people to do the same. Like, they saw me not in this person that was, you know, because I had a specific title, I just fell into this conformity of leadership. Like, I was very much about the people. And I got stories at the end of people saying, you allowed me to be who I was. You created this space. So when you talk about, I'm going to show up as Annie and hope that I touch one person, you don't have to worry about touching one person. You are touching many people. And often our journeys are intertwined in certain ways. And you never know how, when you are feeling a certain way, there's also other people feeling that other way, and you are creating heart connections. And that is something that you can't, that doesn't just dissipate. And so I'm just, again, gratitude for the fact that you are acknowledging and honoring where you are. It's a big, big thing because you're affecting other people that are watching as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And to your point, I guess, Mary Ellen said, you make my mornings with your video messages. You've gotten me through tough days. I appreciate that. I'm so, that warms my heart. I mean, I get up in the morning and I'm like, for the most part, I'm really ready to like kill the day, like I'm like ready to crush it. And I've been, especially the days that I run, I start off the day well. And, sometimes it just, that mood or whatever just takes a hold. And that's sort of been lately more so. Do you ever what I wanted to ask you was, you have 5 children, like I have 2, it's really hard. And, how do you stay in this? Like, did you take a couple Valium before we got on the call? Or like, how do you stay in this like Zen place when you have, what's happening? How do you bring this all the time?
Well, I wasn't always like this, I will tell you. I think around 6 years ago, I was probably around, it has to have been maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Every 90 days, like clockwork, I would have a breakdown, an emotional breakdown. And it was like every 90 days, it would call my mom, the sky is falling. It was just, I would be like, burn the ships. It's over. Everything's over. And it was
totally, I get that. That was about an hour ago.
I was just like, it's over. It's done. And a lot of fear-based waved in, and it just took over a lot of my emotions. And this happened every 90 days. You can imagine how unproductive that was, because then I had to recover from that.
And that's tough.
I remember I was in Fremont and I called this lady that does meditation, and I was like, hey, I'm having these breakdowns. And she's like, oh, I do meditation. Come and join. And I was like, sure. So I showed up, never left, and never had the breakdowns again. And so I started to practice a lot of that meditation. But to your point, you're like, you have 5 kids. How do you like manage just staying zen with that? I find that the more kids that you have, the easier that it gets, because you start to, one of the things for me was the word mom was like 100-pound kettlebell. That meant that like I was responsible for everything that went right, everything that went wrong. And it was
attached to that word.
It was very consuming. And what I didn't realize is I am almost the journeyman of, or journey woman of these little humans' lives. Like I don't control everything. And at a certain point, my youngest is almost 2. He was actually born on Christmas Day, the little home birth. And I have a little bit of control and direction. But as they get older, it's like goes from 100% all the way to like 0%. Yeah. And I had to learn that through my first one. I had to learn how to honor and separate myself as a mom and all of the different labels again that were given to me, or just, when I tell people I'm a mom of 5, they're like, oh, you have your hands full. And my joke is not at the moment. I don't it's like, I try and honor the different parts of me and then realize that I'm not as in control as I think I am. And that's okay.
What I'm hearing is like, you kind of like let go a little bit. Like you just let the mom reins kind of go. I think that's one of the allowing to me is the word. And I always talk about this word. This was my word for 2020 before the pandemic even hit, was allow. Boy, did I not realize how much I was going to have to allow. But, like it just, when you can just allow and let go and realize what you just said when you nailed it. And I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just, you nailed it by saying, you're not in control. Like really, truly, what are we in control of, right? So when you realize that and when you live that, there's a difference. I've realized that I'm not, but I'm not living it all the time.
I think what happened, again, Bali was very transformational for me. I remember, so I went to Bali by myself, left all my kids here with my husband so that he had 4 kids that he was taking care of. I remember sitting in this beautiful place at night, and it's like our night in Bali, it's like night, and over here it was day or something, I forget. And I remember waking up and just being like, what if the house is on fire?
Oh, I remember
my husband is like my husband sleeps through everything, and like, what if he doesn't hear it and he's snoring so loud? And I was like having this legitimate freak out moment. And then I was like, girl, you about 10,000 miles away. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? And at that moment I said, release. And no, nor do I want to welcome that energy in, but if it is, so it shall be. And I
can't control all my thoughts. So they're going to come in my head, right? But if I say this is the way it's going to be, and just let it be.
So it is, and so it shall be. Like, if that's my journey to experience something like that, I came here to experience multiple contrasting things in life. And I don't know what that leads. Sometimes that leads into what appears as tragedy. Sometimes it leads into triumph. And I can't, in that moment, go off of my internal feelings to allow fear-based to control. So I let go. And that honestly was my beginning of my journey, why I can sit in this space and be like, okay. And you said accept. Did you say accept? What was your word again? Allow. I remember my spiritual teacher, she says, Charisse, you're too analytical. And it's true. I have a very good analytical brain, but it gets in the way of a lot of things. And she's like, just tone it down 20%. And I was like, well, then what do I replace it with? You can't take away something and not replace it. And she said, acceptance. And I said, done. So now what happens if someone gives me a compliment? I accept it and thank you. If something happens, I accept it, I receive it and thank you. And if something is like I don't like, I don't have to accept it or receive it. I just say light and love and thank you for that experience and just kind of move on. And it just has helped me to process so I'm not holding on to things as much, and I'm able to let go and forgive not only myself, but others. And that's been a big part of my journey and how I can be. And I'm not always in, girl. Sometimes I am a sailor. Like, I do not normally cuss, but like if I get pissed off, like some stuff happens, and then I'm like, okay, shwari, which is Swahili for be calm. Shwari.
Right. I need to start saying that. And you know, look, and I'm again on the same thing that you're saying, like, I'm not always freaking out, you know, like there's plenty of time when I'm calm through stuff. Like, like there's a lot of the day where I can just handle stuff. Like I'm like multitasking and I'm doing stuff. Like I'm not a total wreck, but like, so we each are allowing at certain points. I think that there's really a lot in what you just said with accepting and thanking and just saying, I appreciate this space that I'm in right now. I can appreciate right now. And the transition thing really helped me. That's why, I don't know if you take Venmo for this therapy session or how we should do this, but like, that's why I wanted to meet with you and talk to you and show people our talk tonight, because I knew that you were going to say something along the lines of like, actually, you're in transition right now. And then everything in my head just started to make sense. So it's like, yeah, I am very much so in this turning of the corner place. And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
It's gonna be. Oh, it is. It is honestly gonna be. And when you were talking, I was just thinking about like being in transition and birth is very uncomfortable. It's actually the point where you can't get an epidural. No one can really like you. It is the birth is on the way. Yes. It's just you getting through that transition. And while you're in transition, and I'm very grateful that you're receiving that word, is I recommend taking a sticky note and writing, I am in transition, and putting it somewhere where you can see it and acknowledge that, instead of saying I'm doing horrible or I'm tired or I'm this. I am in
reframe it.
transition, because the words that come after I am are so, so powerful. You're
Oh my
stepping into
gosh. Yeah.
manifestation. So if you can say I'm in transition, that's a beautiful space to be honest. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not convenient, and it doesn't
No.
allow you to conform. So it's where the birth and the growth happens.
Yeah, and when you just said what I think spoke so loudly to me was the birth is on the way.
Yes.
It's like I can see the light, and when I can't see the light, that's when I struggle. So I need to look and really, really like squint right now to see the light, because the birth is on the way for me, and I know that. And that's so helpful in a time like this, because like what I've been feeling in my heart recently, Charisse, is like just all the people that can't be with their family and friends, and on this whenever, but specifically, with Thanksgiving here in a couple days, and with Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all the holidays coming up, and the family time, and things are so. And trust me, there's plenty of husbands and wives that are like, I would love a break, I'd love to be alone, but it's like the grass is always greener. But there's always, there's something in my heart that I'm feeling around me, this energy of people just having this like weight. It's just been like a heavy time, and I carry it. Being an empath, I carry it. So, I'm trying to share that with people so they know that they're not alone, because that's like my biggest purpose, is for people to know they can be themselves with me and that they're not alone.
That's what you just said is very beautiful. I will say, be mindful of taking on what's not yours.
I know. There's that too.
Be mindful of taking on what's not yours. There's a funny saying that got me through a lot of culture days, toxic culture days, not my circus, not my monkeys. And it's not a bad phrase, but as you are empathetic to others, just know that their story is their story, and you are better of service to them when you don't jump into their story, but you can be there and bear witness to them and like hold that space. And that just takes a little bit of time, because you're already there. Your depth and understanding of humanity is so there. It's now, I think you're stepping into this next level where it's like, okay, you don't need to take that weight. You can honor that space and still be very effective without taking on someone else's, without somebody. Well, yeah, I mean, like when I go into a birth. Imagine this: I go into a birth, and the woman's going through contractions. I know what the heck is going on, but it helps her nor me if I'm moaning and breathing with her. Right. What helps is if I am grounded feet, open heart, healing hands. And that is how I'm able to be of service. And trust me, I've been at births where I've had to leave the room and I break down.
Yeah, I bet it's just so much.
Because it's like, it is a lot to take, but I'm releasing as I'm crying. I'm like, I can't take on this person's journey, else I'm no longer effective, because I then become the same frequency that I'm trying to heal. And healing doesn't happen that way. Only happens in that higher vibe.
And that's all of those three. That's such a beautiful way of putting it. And it's just allowing. It's really allowing a space for it.
Great word.
Yeah. But we're like, believe it or not, we're towards the end of our time. How can people find you if they want to reach out and talk to you? Because I think that there's going to be, there's a couple other comments too. Everyone's saying you're amazing. You're amazing, Charisse. We know this. Your outlook on parenting is so healthy. Sherry is such a great supporter. She's incredible. And people are just coming in here, empath too. Yeah. I hate when it says LinkedIn user. I don't know who it is exactly, but it does that sometimes. Be mindful of not taking on what's yours, or taking on what's not yours. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, you just said some really beautiful things. I got to go back and watch. I'm definitely going to write "I'm in transition" on my wall right here and put it in my office. So I appreciate that. But how can people find you?
I'm on the LinkedIns. That is the best way. The LinkedIn
webs. Yeah.
Find me on the LinkedIns. I love connecting with different people, having beautiful conversations. And, that's the best way to find me. I'm kind of on the Instas, Charisse Fonts. You can find me there, but mostly
on the LinkedIn.
Yes.
It was more than a pleasure having you. You brightened my life tonight. You have no idea. It was not very bright. So I appreciate you. Thank you for being here with me tonight and being with us. And everybody that joined, thank you for all your comments. I appreciate you too. Charisse, hang on for 1 sec. We're gonna end the show, but I want you to hang out for just 1 sec so I can give you lots of love.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Peace. Have a great night. Thanks for listening. Bye.